What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I am Eric and we are riding dirty. In today's episode, we're gonna be turning my 29er into a 27.5 because we got these new sweet DVO forks that we're gonna try out for the first time ever. These things are pretty awesome. So stick around so you can see how we do this. Alright, so in a previous video, I talked about how my Evil Reckoning is probably like the best all-around bike that I've ever ridden for myself. And it got me thinking. Okay, well, if it's a 29er and it's the best all-around bike, what would it be like if it was a 27.5? So Evil does make a 27.5 bike. It's called the Insurgent. And I've been wanting an Insurgent for a while because of how much I love my Reckoning. Well, the thing is, you can't find bikes right now. And like I told you before, Evil bikes are very expensive. So I can't really afford to go buy one. So I was looking for a frame. And the problem with that is I found a lot of used frames that were ridden pretty hard, that were asking almost the brand new price because of the market we're in today. And I really didn't want to spend, you know, $3,000 on a frame that could possibly break easily because it was ridden hard at another point in time. And I already know I'm gonna ride it hard, so I didn't want to do that. So with that being said, I decided I was gonna convert my Evil Reckoning into an Insurgent. And the reason that I think this is possible is because of the fact that a lot of the geometry specs are very similar with the two frames, with the Reckoning and the Insurgent. I'm talking, there's not much of a difference between the two different frames other than a couple millimeters here and there. One of the interesting things is that the chainstay length is exactly the same on pretty much all the bikes on certain years. So mine is the 2019 model. It's called the LB Evil Reckoning. To me, I was like, this makes sense. Maybe they're the same. I think that I'm gonna be able to convert this bike into a 27.5. So we're gonna take these new beautiful DVO forks, we're going to put them on the bike, and we're going to make it a 27.5. So our new forks we got today are made by DVO. They are the Onyx SC D1 forks, and they're in 27.5. So that's how we're gonna convert our 29er to 27.5. These forks are pretty awesome. I've been reading a lot of stuff about them and learning about them. And ever since I got my DVO rear coil, I've been really loving that. So I figured why not try the forks. And as you can see right here, we have our low speed and our high speed compression knob. We also have our air valve because these are air forks on the other side. We have our rebound adjustment right here. And something unique to DVO is the OTT knob, which is basically a knob that controls your beginning stroke of the fork going up and down. Another cool thing they have is they have these bleeder valves right here so that when your bike builds up a bunch of pressure, you can release the air without having to stick the zip tie down here. So all in all, these forks are built pretty well and they have some really awesome features for the price that you get them for. I'm pretty impressed. And if they're anything like my rear suspension, these things are gonna be awesome. So I know there's a lot of questions on how this is even possible to do from a 29er frame and turn it into a 27.5. Well, the reason this is possible with an Evil frame is because of the fact that they give you all of their specs based on a couple of different fork lengths, because Evil's very versatile as far as how much travel you can have in the front. I've seen an Evil Reckoning frame go from 160 millimeters of travel all the way up to 200 millimeters of travel. There's certain things you have to do to make that work, but it's 100% possible. So for instance, the bike comes with 160 millimeters of travel when you first buy it on this particular model. Well, they also have specs on the website for this particular model with a 180 millimeter travel fork. So based on the information that I've read online, I'm gonna be losing 15 to 20 millimeters of height going to a 27.5 inch wheel. So basically right here, here's a 180 millimeter fork option with, you know, here's all the specs. So you can see 65-degree head angle, 65.2. We have a bottom bracket height of 355. And this is currently how I have mine set up with the RockShox Zeb. So you can see, and then the chainstay length is the same across the board on every single size. What I did was go, okay, I'm gonna lose 20 millimeters from this 180 millimeter going to 27.5. You look at here, and then it goes down to a 66-degree head angle because my size is a small. You go to a 348 millimeter bottom bracket, and that's pretty much it. And the reach doesn't change, I don't believe. Let's see. Oh, the reach changes by 1 millimeter. So if you look at all these specs, you'll realize that from the 180 millimeter, which it's at right now, I'm gonna lose one degree basically. And then the bottom bracket height, I will lose 7 millimeters on the bottom bracket height. So basically I just went through all the geo specs and just compared to see if this is actually possible. And from everything I gathered, it's gonna work out just fine. The only thing I can see that I may need to think about is I think that my bottom bracket will be just slightly lower than the stock setting, only because the wheels are smaller now. So according to DVO's website, air pressure for my weight should be about 110 PSI. So basically it's like 160 to 179 as far as the pounds, how much you weigh. And that's 110 to 125. I may go 115 because I like my pressure a little bit stiffer. So I'll try that out, see what 115 does for me. Now I'm just setting this thing up pretty basic right now because I'm not getting into all the different tuning with the fork because I need to ride it and see how it feels and what I like and what I don't like. So over the time of figuring out how to tune my suspension, I've realized that I like stuff a little more squishy. In the beginning, I liked everything super hard, but now it's squishy. Well, here she is, my Evil Reckoning in 27.5. Looking pretty tough. It's nice having the DVO rear coil along with the DVO front shock or fork. And then I put the green bars back on to match. Looking pretty tough. Man, I love it. See how it rides. This trail is super rocky, super chunky, and it's almost impossible not to get pedal strikes. But since I lowered my bottom bracket a little bit, I'm definitely going to get more of them and crash into bushes. Definitely a different feeling climbing on the same bike with smaller wheels. Not necessarily bad, just different. It feels a little more twitchier, which makes perfect sense because the wheels are smaller. All right, climb is done. Take a little rest before we go downhill. All right, so now we're gonna head downhill. Suspension's all the way open, and we're gonna try out this DVO fork in the 27.5 Evil Reckoning. Might have put too much air in my tires, but still handling pretty good. Little pedal strike right there, but that part's kind of gnarly as it is. Woo! Bike just feels really light more than anything. Feels like a whole new bike, but it's definitely fun. Definitely feeling like a new bike that's just really light. Like, it's just insane. Chunky stuff right there, handled pretty well. So that was good. Oh, and this thing turns so tight. It's nice.
Yeah, the turns, you could do really tight turns on this thing now. Like compared to the 29er. Don't get me wrong, I still love that 29er. They both have their purposes. Woo! Almost flew off on that one.
If anybody has any questions about this project, leave a comment down below. I'm curious to see what you would do if you would ever turn one of your 29ers into a 27.5. Is it possible with other brands? I don't know. Let me know. I'm not sure. All right, so just got done riding the Evil Reckoning 27.5. The crazy thing is like I know that bike, you know, from riding it for so long, and it's just been my main bike at all times. Today it felt like a new bike. It was crazy. I mean, it makes sense because of the fact that I changed it so much. I mean, it's so modified at this point. But I will say that it was super fun. It was very light. The bike just felt like it wanted to bounce around everywhere. That trail's a pretty gnarly trail. It's definitely more on the black side. So I don't know if that was the best place to test it, but regardless, it was definitely like poppy and just wanted to bounce off everything, as opposed to like the 29er where it's like planted in the trail and it's actually more work to like jump it and move it around. This was just like bouncing all over the place, like in a fun way. And it turned really good, as you saw. And I'd have to say, like, I definitely love it. I just need to put some more time into it. I think it's gonna be a really good jumping bike. I just have a feeling it's gonna be like on big jumps, big senders, it's just gonna float through the air, which is gonna be totally awesome. I would love to have like two of these bikes, one in 29er and one in 27.5. The 29er does the same thing, but anybody who rides a 29er, and when you get on a 27.5, you realize right away that it's like everyone says, the bike's more playful. But as an all-around bike, I think the 29er Evil Reckoning LB is like a great bike for everything in one if you can only have one bike. But if it's possible to have two, I would definitely like get a 27.5 long travel bike, which would be super fun. I still need to do a lot more videos with this bike in order to figure out all the really cool things that will work and what its limitations are. Some of the stuff was the pedal strikes, but you know, like I said, it's hard to say if that's like a common thing with how I set it up, because that trail is gnarly and there's so many places to like get pedal strikes. Like you'll be pedal striking all day long no matter what. You get flats there very easily as well. So it's hard to say if that was like the main factor or not. So I'd have to ride it on another trail. Well, we did prove that I could turn my 29er into a 27.5 and it's a rideable bike. And you know, a couple of things are different. I'm thankful that I had all the specs to read them on Evil's website in order to see if this would actually work. And it worked out pretty well in my opinion. But like I said, I just want to ride it some more, get it on some more trails, get it on some jump trails and see how it does. And then I'll have my final verdict eventually. But for now, it's still a fun bike. And that DVO suspension, I am sold on it. It is so solid. It felt so good. I think I had too much air pressure in though, because I wasn't even going down that far in my travel. I was only going about halfway. So I need to like fine tune that thing and see how that does. All right, well, that's pretty much it. So if you like what we do, hit that like button. If you want to see what we're up to next, hit that subscribe button. And always remember, start small and go huge. Thanks for watching.